Good morning. Good morning. It's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Today is the 24th of February. It's also the 12th day of Adar. We are on the 12th day of Adar, and we're coming into a pretty cool time. And I wanted to make note of that today as we're entering into the eve of Purim. And so tomorrow begins the eve of Purim, Thursday evening at sundown until Friday at sundown. And you can research this more, but in Jerusalem, they actually do celebrate it all the way through Sunday at sundown as well. So it is celebrated on the 14th day of the month of Adar. And so I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about what Purim is. We're going to talk a little bit about Revelation, and we're going to pull it all together to have a deep understanding of what does it mean in this revelation. What does it mean? What do all these things mean? I'm excited. So we're going to go into this. Okay, so the holiday of Purim is a very jolly holiday. It's a celebration. Jews all over celebrate this with feasts, with family together, all those things. It's celebrated on the 14th day of the month of Adar. And in this year, it begins Thursday, the 25th, and continues through February. And in Jerusalem, it goes through Sunday. It commemorates the divinely orchestrated salvation of the Jewish people in the ancient Persian Empire from Haman's plot to destroy, kill, and annihilate the Jews. Young, old, women, children, all in a single day. That was the plot. And it literally means lots. That's what Purim means. It's lots, because it was named that because he drew lots to determine when he would carry out this scheme. It's all recorded in the book of Esther. So that's a great book to read, to reread if you haven't in a while, that book, because that was happening at this time on the calendar. So it's a powerful, powerful time. So in the 4th century, the Persian Empire extended over 127 lands, and all the Jews were its subjects. When King, and I know I'm going to skewer this, how do you say that king, honey? Assuerus? He was married to Queen Vashti, and he executed her. Ahasuerus, and he executed her for failing to follow his orders. And he arranged a beauty pageant to find his new queen, right? And that's how Esther enters into the picture. She found favor in his eyes and became the new queen. He had no idea that she was Jewish. So there was a man named Haman, and he was appointed the prime minister of the empire. Mordecai was the leader of the Jews. He was also Esther's cousin, and he defied the king's orders, and he refused to bow down to Haman. So he was incensed. Haman was incensed, and he convinced the king to issue a decree ordering the extermination of all the Jews on the 13th of Adar. This day, actually tomorrow, was the day that the Jews were going to all be exterminated because of a lottery that he had made. So what Mordecai did is he got all the Jews together, and he convinced them to repent, fast, and pray to God that whole day. Meanwhile, Esther, we know she went to the king and she revealed her identity to him. And as a result, I'm putting this all together for us. Haman was hanged, right? Mordecai was appointed prime minister, and a new decree was issued granting the Jews the right to defend themselves against their enemies. That's huge. That's tremendous, right? So on the 13th of Adar, the Jews mobilized and killed many of their enemies. They did that, and they just decimated all these men, these enemies. And then on the 14th, they rested and they celebrated. And they did that. It's a great story. Book of Esther is a fantastic book to read right now. So here's a little bit about Purim and why is it called Purim? It means lots in ancient Persian. The holiday was named this because Haman had thrown lots to determine what date he would carry out this scheme. you can read so much more about it. I love Chabad.com or .org, actually Chabad.org. I get a lot of great information from that. And so a lot of times the way that the Hebrews celebrate this time is they read through the book of Megillah, which is also the book of Esther, and that it recounts this is the miracle, the Purim miracle. It's done on the eve of Purim and again on the following day. Great thing to read as a family with your family. And here's a couple really kind of cool things that they do on to celebrate this miracle. The miracle of this is give money gifts to at least 2 poor people, giving money gifts, sending gifts of food. So sending different foods to at least one person. And they did a Purim feast, which includes wine and there's all kinds of things that are kind of what they would do, their traditions. And it's very much a time of liveliness and fun that's unparalleled to anything else on the Jewish calendar. If there were ever a day to let loose, it's this day. It's a celebration of this kind of a victory. It's also the children and adults, if they desire, they dress up in costumes. You can read more about that. They make pastries bursting with seeds and fruits. Pastries are big. It's customary to fast on the day before Purim, which would that be today or tomorrow? Believe that would be tomorrow up until sundown to fast because it's commemorating they fasted and prayed to God to save his people. And so that's the way that a lot of Hebrews and Jewish people will celebrate that. So it's Jews all over the world will celebrate on the 14th, the day that their ancestors were freed. They, inside of a walled city, they celebrate it differently. Inside of a small town, it's very, very interesting. All of the traditions, really interesting. So the meaning of Purim, and I think that this is really, really valuable. It's that in addition to the miracle of Jewish survival, despite efforts of our enemies, Purim celebrates God's intimate involvement in every aspect of this world. Even though there were no overt miracles recorded, indeed, his name is not even mentioned once. God was not mentioned in the book of Esther, but we know that he was pulling the strings, so to speak, to care for his nations. He worked through Mordecai and Esther and all of the Jews that came together and fasted and prayed. Additionally, Haman's edict catalyzed a spiritual revival among the Jews. This was even more significant than the covenant at Sinai, an overwhelming spiritual experience that compelled the Jews, that compelled them to accept the Torah, since it occurred of their own volition. Even as they were scattered among the Persian people and immersed in their culture, it was the merit of this spiritual reawakening that God orchestrated their salvation. So imagine that you all gathered together to pray and fast, and this incredible miracle happened. So this was a huge spiritual reawakening that they had at this time. And it's very, I think, so aligned with what we're experiencing right now, right? Because we are most definitely experiencing a great awakening. We've been talking about that. It's been happening. I don't know how long these great awakenings last. I have no idea, but we know that we are in it. So we are experiencing that. Yes. Yes, I see all of you guys. I can see you now more that are on here. Welcome, welcome. Yes, we are going to have a Shabbat dinner Friday night and celebrate. I'm just now looking at some things to make, different things. I will happily share with you guys what we do and kind of what we make, but it's also fun to research that out and check it out. There's some great stuff online. Great stuff online. So on the eve, we're going to actually celebrate it Friday night. We're going to do a Shabbat and celebrate Purim. on our Shabbat. This is our Purim moment. I fully believe that. I totally believe that. So I wanted to also kind of weave in. We've been on these Wednesdays. We talk about the Hebrew roots of our faith. We've also been studying out a little bit of the book of Revelation. We've been connecting that in to this as well, feeling like we are in some pretty biblically epic times that we have been experiencing since the beginning of 2020, honestly. So in Revelation 4, we've been studying along the different churches and the different things. And in Revelation 4, it's finally coming into the full reveal, the full apocalypse. And it's very interesting to me that we as a nation, as a culture in Christianity, believe that the apocalypse is the worst thing that can happen. There's all this fear and talk about end times and the apocalypse and prophecy and Hollywood movies, right? That the apocalypse is the worst thing that can happen. But so much of what we know and believe about these biblical things have been influenced by a Greek mindset. We've talked a lot about, if you didn't see last week, I really went over a Greek mindset versus a Hebrew mindset versus a barbarian mindset. And it's pretty amazing that a lot of what we understand through our churches is a Greek mindset. So there's a lot of systematic theology that's taught. That's taught in all Christian colleges and preparing for degrees in ministry. And there is something about systematic theology that is not a spirit-led theology. It is, I believe, part of a Greek mindset. That's another subject for another time. We can talk a lot about that, but there is a sense of when you're studying, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to explain it, but systematic theology is more individual and more, what would you say?
Well, it's like you're breaking something. Remember, it's like the tree versus the forest.
Right. That's perfect. I knew there was a way that, Dan, it's like you're studying out the tree versus seeing the whole forest. You're focusing in on these things without seeing, and there's something missed about the spirit and the movement and what's happening. So there's times and places, right, for everything. And there's also, I believe, a lot of what we've learned are from these Hollywood blockbusters, all of these ideas about the end times and these different things. And bam, what God intended for his grand finale is taken and it's changed, and we're given a shadow of it. No power, no hope, no victory. And I believe that's wrong. Revelation means revealing. It's the revealing, it's the unveiling of Jesus. That's what it is. It's the magic moment, when you're at a magic show and they reveal the thing, they take the cover off, they take the red blanket off of it, and it's revealing the apocalypse of the Lord Jesus Christ. It's so powerful. The end times is directly tied to time, and it's directly the unveiling of Jesus. It's the unveiling. Revelation is always connected to time. When you read about it all the time, there's so many places in the Bible. And as we progress further into this end time, more and more of Jesus is revealed. And as we grow, more and more of Jesus should be revealed in our life, right? As we grow and learn. So the end times is the end of Satan's reign on earth. That's the end. There's something coming to the end. We know that Satan was cast down to this earth, and we know that he has waged war on all of us, So his time is short, and it's coming to an end. And that there is what is born out of this is a progressive, ongoing relationship with God that reveals more and more. And as we progress on our walk, it's a lifetime though, right? It's not just a season. It's a lifetime of many seasons, of many things. More and more of the throne and the glory of Jesus is revealed in our lives, in us, through us, so that we can be the hands and feet here. In Isaiah 6, I was going back and forth a lot because there's a lot there. I can't even go too much into it, but Isaiah sees the Lord high and lifted up. He sees angels with 6 wings. That's talked about in Revelation, in John's visions. It's amazing. And I probably will dig deeper into that next time because it's amazing. And what we're seeing is that the wings of these angels are covering, they're covering eyes, right? There's a veiling. So before the cross, before that, everyone, angels, heaven, anyone who were to see God had to see with a veiled face, right? The cross and the blood of Jesus is what brings the unveiling. That's what brings it. And when Jesus said, "It is finished," the veil was broken. The veil was ripped in half, right? We know that. Revelation is revealing, it's the unveiling. The timeline that God put in place from Genesis on is for the purpose of redemption. That's what the purpose of it is. Amazing. So the timeline begins at the fall of humanity, right? At the sin of Adam is when the timeline begins. And we learn that God gives us a glimpse of his plan of redemption. It's so powerful. It starts there. When humankind sinned, right? We ate and we experienced the tree, the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Then there was a plan of redemption. And I love this. The 12 constellations actually reveal the plan of redemption. We've been talking a lot about that as well. Is the constellations, and they mean so much. There's so much written in the stars. So it starts with Virgo, the virgin, right? The seed of the woman. And then it goes into Libra and the Messiah and becomes the Messiah Redeemer, right? There's the Libra is the scales. It's justice, right? It's the sign. There's justice that's going to come. It goes into Scorpio, which it's showing that they take on sin and death. Sagittarius is the resurrection from the dead and the conquering of death. Sagittarius with the arrow. Amazing, right? It's about conquering. And it goes and it finally ends in Leo, which is the lion of the tribe of Judah. And that's coming back to rule and reign. It's so incredible. We've been studying a little bit, but there's so much to learn, right? About how God speaks through his constellations, and it's all there. The story of redemption is in the stars, as it is in the heavens. It is everywhere else. And this is meant to be a journey. It's meant to be walked out, and we're in it. We are in it. And when we're in it as intensely as we have been for this last year and a half, year and 2 months, I feel like, man, everything is coming alive so much, so much. And really, it's the most important thing to Jesus is the relationship. That's the most important thing. Everything that Jesus came and did when he was on this earth was to break the yoke of slavery, was to bring freedom to the people. His harshest words were for the leaders that were holding the people down with all of the pressures of the legalism, right? He was all about relationship. He taught his people how to pray. And he told them, you start by saying, Father. This is your Father. This is a new relationship that he was bringing to them. It's all about relationship. And so my question is, are you in? Are you in for the long haul? If you are questioning, if you are fighting, if you are still questioning, is God for me? Am I stepping forth into this destiny that God brought us? It's a journey. And it's not ever going to be smooth sailing. It's not, unless your head is in the sand and you're not stepping into your destiny and you're living numb. Even then, it's not smooth sailing. There's no smooth sailing. There's times, right? But when we are in alignment with God and we are in alignment with what he's putting the calling, then the sailing will move. You will move exponentially, right? Exponential growth. But exponential growth comes from deep healing, from deep digging, from moving forward, fighting the voices that are coming against what you're doing, all of that. This journey is a lifetime. And if every time something comes up, you're questioning it, you're fighting it, you're fighting with, you're fighting the current. Get in the current, move forward, trusting the process. Those are good questions to ask if you're feeling that. How do I align with the process? How do I step one foot in front of the other? Listen, what is God telling you to do today in this moment? And do it. Follow it. So I love how this brings us into Revelation 4. John is seeing an open door. And in that open door, God is saying to him, come in through the open door. I'm going to show you what must happen. One of the things that's so disturbing to me about learning more and more about John, Revelation, end times, and the Isle of Patmos is understanding that island, the reason why that they were all put there, it was an island filled with people that were prisoners. Their eyes were gouged out. It was an island filled with blind people. And that's why they were never going to leave, because they couldn't. People out there are not going to take care of them. Everyone there. So if you were blind, you were there. And if you were there because you, like John, he was a prisoner, his eyes were gouged out. So when you read Revelation, understanding that everything he had, and starting in verse 4, is vision, you know he's not seeing this through eyes. And in Isaiah 6, it even talks about taking your eyes and your ears so that you're not seeing and hearing in the natural. You're hearing and seeing in the spiritual realm. And it's so powerful in chapter 4 how it begins to change. And I love Troy Brewer talking about this. He talked about how it's like when you're watching The Wizard of Oz and everything's in black and white until she's in Oz and everything goes to color. It's kind of like that in this book, starting in chapter 4. It's you're seeing a vision. And John is being invited through an open door to see things. Everything changes. He's literally taken out of time and into a new realm. He hears the voice of God, and he hears it as a trumpet. As a trumpet. There's so much there. So listen to this in Isaiah 22, the key of David, which is also number 444. All of that is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, right? All of these numbers in the gematria are amazing and a whole nother study. But in Isaiah 22, the key of David, and he says this, I will place on his shoulder the key to the house of David. He shall open and none shall shut, and he shall shut and none shall open, right? That's the key of David. God opens doors, he closes doors. There's no opening and closing once he has, right? Supernatural doors mean God will open and he will close. Have you had dreams of going through a door? Are there doors in your dreams? Are there doors? There's things in a supernatural way. And when you read Revelation, understanding everything that John experienced was without physical eyes, to me, it took it to a whole nother level. Understanding the realm of the spirit. And I think for the longest time, I could not grasp, and I know I'm just beginning to grasp this book because so much of my upbringing in my spiritual walk and my Christian walk did not have a lot of connection to the spirit. This whole book is spirit led. It's visions. It's all these things. So powerful. Think of some doors that God closed. God closed the door to Eden. He put them out. He put Adam and Eve out and he closed the door. He put cherubim there to guard it. No more were they allowed in. And we know that that was for out of his grace and mercy, right? He also closed the door to the ark. It was closed. It was sealed. Once Noah and his family were in and all the animals that had the ticket that were going, that door was closed. No one else was getting in. There are doors that God closes. And Jesus, in his message to us, he claims that he is the door. He is the open door. He is the only way to God. He is the only one, right? He is the door. And so the door that John is seeing in this vision represents Jesus. We know everything is pointing to Jesus. And at this point in time, what John is seeing, it's representing Jesus. There's another scripture. This is so cool. In Acts 14, verse 2, it says 27, sorry. It says, now when they had come and gathered the church together, they reported all that God had done with them and that he had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles. In Acts, the door of faith is open to the Gentiles. That's us, right? That's us. We are grafted in. A door is open. God uses this all throughout the scriptures. So he opened the door of faith to the Gentiles. When Jesus is introduced to the Gentiles of the church, he is seen as an open door. So powerful, right? So it says then, will the church be gathered together? I think of the story in Esther, that he pulled all the Jews together to fast and pray. There's so much. I shared, I think it was last week, watching Troy's sermon actually, and talking about all the different denominations of churches that came together here in Texas, where they are up near Fort Worth. All these different denominations came together to help, to serve people that were displaced, homeless. There were so many people displaced because they did not have power, water, all those things. I love the vision of this. Will the church be gathered together? I believe that is what is happening. The church is imploding in so many ways. So many things are, right? Will they be gathered together? We see when God invited John through this open door, he is inviting him into a completely different realm of redemption. That's what John is experiencing, right? John experienced it all. He walked with Jesus. He was there at the crucifixion. Now he's left. He's the last one. And he's now experiencing this incredible vision from God that we get to try and understand and take apart and go on a journey of discovery with, right? But he's being invited into a completely new realm of redemption. So God is, he took Adam and Eve out of the garden because of his grace and mercy. He did not want them to live forever in a state of death and decay. He knew that they would live forever with that knowledge if they stayed in the garden. So he brought them out. He does not want them to live in that way. And he created a master plan of redemption. So here we are in Revelation, seeing this door opening for all of mankind, this door of redemption. So powerful. Listen to this. You guys know how I love the Hebrew alphabet and understanding what these letters mean. So the fourth letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Dalet, and it is literally, the symbol is of a door. 4, the fourth letter. We're in Revelation 4, and God is talking about the open door. God doesn't miss a thing. He doesn't miss a thing. And whether it's through gematria, whether it's through the stars aligning, whether it's through connecting the old and the new and understanding that fusion together, everywhere you go, God confirms his messages to us. Incredible. So God is opening a door. He's opening a door. And a few weeks ago, we talked about that idea of when Jesus is saying to the rich man to sell everything, right? And he goes back to his disciples and he says, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom. And we know that there is a vision of that they knew what he meant because they had camels. And in Jerusalem, the doors in the evening would be shut. So the top of it is shut. Only the bottom is open. And so camels can't get in because you have to crawl under. It's a humility door, a humble door. You have to bow down to go through it. And it's this idea of going, like putting a camel through that is like, you might as well be putting it through the eye of a needle. What is going to take us through an open door? Humility. Humility. Saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to move forward. Who can help me? Who knows? Who's been steps ahead of me? How do I break through? It's humility. It's humble. You had to bow down. And that's so powerful. They knew what Jesus was talking about. So in John's vision, this door is wide open. And I feel so strongly like that is where we are. We are experiencing a great awakening in our lifetime. This is historically a third great awakening, right? We've had a first great awakening, a second great awakening. We have seen things this past year. And if you have been awake and you know that this year, 2020, we moved into a new decade, we moved into the decade of the pay, of the mouth. The decade before that was of the eye. This is the mouth. This is now, we are now speaking. We are not going to be shut down by masks, coverings, all of those things. There's no coincidences that what is happening in the spiritual realm is setting up. We are stepping into a new door opening. So the flood is cleansing. We experience the flood is it lasts for a year and 10 days, right? So we are experiencing a great cleansing of our country, of our churches, of Hollywood, of everywhere, of sports, of everywhere you can see, we're being cleansed. Things are being revealed that have never been revealed before. We have been living with incredible crimes against humanity since the beginning of time, and it's been no different, but we have not been aware of it. We have seen glimpses of it, but now there is no turning away. There is no turning away from an understanding that abortion today in this time and age is contributing to, on a biblical sense, in a spiritual sense, we are sacrificing children on this altar. It's happening. It's been happening. We have not been aware. And underneath all the things politically going on and fighting for rights, there is something insidiously evil about the Luciferian realm. And it is all coming to an end. I believe it. I fully believe it. We have been living in biblical proportions, and we must stay faithful. We must stay vigilant, never give up the hope. And I love that the message of deliverance crosses over all of these messages, all of the messages of the flood, of Purim, Esther, and the Jews. It's so cool. I wanted to share this too. We've shared about the different dates and how things happen and how God does that, right? Think about these dates of Purim facts. So many times in history, the Jews have narrowly escaped catastrophe. More often than not, the plot involves an evil tyrant who follows the way of Haman. I'm sorry, I keep saying it wrong. And just like the Purim story, God is there to save his people from certain doom. Some communities make their own Purim holiday on the anniversary or the date of their respective salvation. In modern times, some of our nation's worst enemies have been thwarted on this day. In the early 1950s, Joseph Stalin, the ruthless butcher of millions of innocent people, had plans for dealing with the Jewish problem in the USSR. And just as things were reaching a crisis point in 1953, he died on Purim. Amazing. He died on Purim. In 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. And as pressure ramped up from the international community, they began firing missiles into Israel. Scud missiles. I remember this. I totally remember this. The rabbi at that time kept assuring the people of Israel that they would be protected. And the U.S. intervened, and it ended. That hostility ended on Purim. It's so amazing. I love the connection and how God does miraculous things on specific days and times. That's why the power of being aligned and knowing. I've never known and never learned in all of my years as a Christian the months and the times that things happened in history. How powerful to be connected to that. It's amazing. So it's the celebration of the Jews killing their enemies, and the victory is celebrated by a day of rest on the 14th of Purim. So celebrate the victory. Celebrate that victory. We are in biblical times. All we can do is align ourselves, right? All we can do is surrender and see what God is doing. But it's stories like this, aligning ourselves with the victory that happened in Esther's day because of her faith, because of her courage, and because the people band together. They were unified. And that's what Jesus prayed. His last prayer was about unity, between the Jews and the Gentiles. Unity. And I believe it is unity over our whole world. It's over every race, every religion, everything is to be unified. So the vision of Revelation is 100% spirit filled. Are you able to see through those eyes right now? We have to see things through spiritual eyes or we are going to go crazy, right? Seeing things like it's even hard for me. There's days that I cannot plug in. Most days I never plug into the news that's out there. But I have my like lines of communication and news that I plug into, right? And there's some days that I just can't. These last 2 weeks have been there it has felt like just attack. And so I'm feeling today, and that's what I love about these Wednesdays together, because they really help me really ground myself in the morning and connect to God. I always pray, God, what is the message that you're giving me to share with our people, to share with our tribe, to share with our like-minded people that are plugged into Get Inspired and Self-Care Soul Care, and our partners with us in the journey of discovering the things that we need healing from, so that we can step confidently and fully into our destiny. I love this idea of the connection of deliverance. And I feel so much like we are being delivered as people, as families, and as a nation, and ultimately as a world. I don't doubt at all that we're connected to this, that we are experiencing this time of a great awakening. But this is unprecedented. We don't know exactly, right? We have no set times or days or know those things. But one thing we can be sure of is that we are part of a great destiny, and a great story is unfolding. So I'm inviting you in to this open door of knowing that Jesus died and the victory is secure. And because of that, we no longer have to have a veil on our face, over our eyes. We are partners with God through Jesus. We are partners. And his message for us this year, I believe, is intimacy. He wants to intimately connect with us wherever we are on this journey. It's about intimately connecting. So my challenge to you today is to stand firm, is to not doubt. If you're wrestling with doubt, pray to overcome your unbelief. Pray that you will wake up knowing that you are aligned, that you are chosen, that your identity is secure, and it is freedom. It is freedom in Christ to step into and to live in this time. What a time to be alive, that we get to be part of history in this way. So this day, a week, a month, a year, I have no idea how long this great awakening is going to last, but I do know that I'm so incredibly grateful to be a part of it and to be connected with all of you guys, because you guys bring us so much joy and strength. Honestly, we are all in this together. I love the visual of arms locked together. We are locked together arm in arm as we move forward with so much confidence and understanding of who God is and what he is doing in this time. So enjoy Purim this week. If you have anything that you want to share on that, please put it down below. Enjoy Purim. If you are wanting, we are going to be closing off our Destiny Coaching tomorrow. If you want to join, please go to selfcaresoulcaremastermind.com. If you want to dig deeper into wherever you are, that's the beautiful thing about Destiny Coaching. And then I'm super excited, and we'll be sharing more and more as we are finishing winter. These are the last weeks of winter, and we will be jumping head first, feet first into spring, as we will be kicking off our self-care, soul care spring coaching March 26th, and jumping into counting the Omer, and just a time of incredible growth, right? That's when things are germinating and growing. Even though the top has been frozen, don't ever doubt what God is germinating below the surface there. And we will be stepping into what all the spring is going to bring, all the seeds that have been planted this year, seeing what he brings to fruition. So many blessings to you today. Have a beautiful and blessed Wednesday and week, and enjoy celebrating the victory of God's deliverance in so many ways. We love you guys.